Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers. I'm looking at a book from Blackstone and the Oxford University Press. It's the Blackstones Guides, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. This is the legislation, and in this particular book we have the guide to the Equalities Act, 2010. It's written by four people: John Wadham, who many people will know, Anthony Robinson, David Ruebain and Susie Uppal. This is the book itself. It's quite heavy, 480 odd pages, good index at the back. You've got the legislation itself, again towards the rear of the book. Then you've got the standard comments on the various sections and so forth, parts, with paragraphing, which is extremely useful to try and assist us as we guide our way through the actual legislation itself. There are a lot of contributors in addition to the main editors who are listed, and as I say, this is an important piece of legislation. We've written a review on the internet. Elizabeth and I have called it, yes, from the equalities industry, yet another book on the Equalities Act 2010. Well, there have been quite a few, to be fair. This one is special in many ways because it looks directly at the legislation. The guide, in fact, will certainly please many parliamentarians from the previous government, including the excellent Helena Kennedy, who gives a foreword here, because it's actually now been published to complement the new legislation itself. That's sweeping away 100 previous acts, statutory instruments and so on, and about 2,500 codes of practice and guidance. So it's a bit of a job well done by the previous government, in the sense that we needed something to consolidate the bits and bobs that we had all over the place. Of course, many have wondered whether this consolidation of previous legislative measures after 40 years would actually be achieved, as equality is easy to talk about but much more difficult to implement, and Helena Kennedy talks about this in her foreword. However, it has worked so far, and the complex mass of statutory provisions is now in one act, and I think we're pleased to see that. All practitioners find these guides invaluable for their advice because they deliver concise and accessible commentaries on the latest legislative reforms, and this one in particular I think is very, very helpful because it fits the bill nicely. So the publishers, both Blackstone and OUP, have seen what we need, which are sort of publications, if you like, arriving soon after the legislation is enacted, with a serious and expert analysis from leading lawyers, which we can then look at, and it will help us to understand what is really going on. Also, of course, Blackstone's pretty cost effective because you've got the Act itself in the book, which makes life a lot easier. Can I just say that one of the important things here, in the nearly 500 pages and the 12 chapters, the Act introduces a great deal of change as well, and Helena Kennedy sums things up nicely by saying that the Act will be a key resource for all who actively pursue a fairer society, and she's right about that. The Act is an important new step, of course, towards building society based on equality and human rights by rationalising and modernising the law. So the four experts who edit this have actually given us additional tools to help us with the job. So whether it comes to pass that we will have, since May 2010, any further changes in, say, the Human Rights Act or whatever, one thing is quite clear, and that is that the statutes that we have on the books at the moment are ones that we need to see as they affect the way in which we conduct our legal business. But in any event, we have this guide which gives us the explanations and the directions in which society is now going, and I cannot see that there'll be much to change what we now have. So thank you very much to Blackstone and OUP and the four contributors. Bye bye.